Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever in the world today. This is Dr. Sophia Rothschild show. And I don't know where many else are, so I'm a PhD in physics. My specialty is in experiments in electromagnetic propulsion system. But I also a doctorate in history and politics, minor theology, and I was an ordained rabbi. Okay. Now, I want to talk to you briefly about geopolitics from a biblical perspective. Okay. First and foremost, um, there is an invisible hand of Hashem throughout history. For example, number one, we are told in those terms that in the book of Numbers, in the book of Numbers, we have that verse for you. Numbers chapter 14, verse 44. It states, after the number of the days in which ye search a land, even 40 days, each day for a year, shall ye bear your iniquities, even 40 years. And in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 4, verse 6, it says, thou shalt bear the iniquity of the house of Jacob, of Judah 40 days. I have appointed thee each day for a year. So, when looking from this perspective, we see that the hand of God not only evident throughout history, but the, the geopolitical timeline is much further along than we can imagine. Let me elaborate. As Daniel has noted, Jewish prophet Daniel tells us that four world empires major. There was Babylon, Medo-Persia, the Macedonian Empire, and the Roman Empire. Now, it also said that Rome fell. When Rome fell, it broke into 10 sections, as shown by those 10 horns. And later it also shows that another little horn would come into being, push into existence, pushed out through the first, and change times and laws and such things. Well, we know that in 538 AD, well, we know the Roman Empire fell. And when the Roman Empire fell, it broke into 10 different sections. And in 538 AD, we had the emergence of the papacy. Papacy did change things like the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday, and change certain laws and concepts in the Bible. That is a fact. It's also a fact that they pushed the Vandal, the Hurla, and the Ostrogoths were pushed out, and from 538 AD to 1798 AD, the papacy ruled over all of Europe. And if you calculate that, that's exactly 1,260 um, years, which correspond to the 1,260 prophetic days mentioned in the book of Daniel. So the so-called Great Tribulation, that's a great event. It happened within 1798. From 528 AD, 1798 AD, we had that um, prophetic period where papacy dominated Europe, changed the laws, it persecuted Jewish people tremendously, and it did exist for 160 years. But as it said in Daniel, this little horn will do great things, speak great things for 160 days, which, as was stated, will correspond to 1,260 prophetic years. So, and then after that, we notice that they came to being. We had portion of existence, the British Empire, and followed by the United States, which came from a region of the world that was sparsely populated. If you know those previous Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greco, Macedonian Empire, and Roman Empire came from areas of the world that was very heavily populated. And as we learn also in Daniel, that's where that C represents people's tongues of multitude. All right, that was said. Yes, it's came about there and then continue. In 1948, we saw the rebirth of the nation of Israel. And as it's told in Tanakh, it will come back and will not be destroyed again. And so, what's the next major event we see now? So, if we look at it if we look at the idea of a day that you're in prophecy, we see that history is much further along than we can imagine. I think it's safe to say that most of the prophecies have been fulfilled, and we're now entering the period of the Gog Magog war mentioned in Ezekiel chapter 38 to 39, which will be followed by the rebuilding of the temple in chapter 40 to 48. Okay. This is significant. So the next major event is a major crisis in which you see nations come against Israel and wants trying to destroy Israel. As stated in Zechariah 14, the nation of Israel will prevail and it will be destroyed, and the temple of that would be rebuilt, and the final redemption would have been at hand. So what we're seeing here is, and in fact, even now, the world is seeing an explosion of anti-Semitism. Places that were once pro Israel are now anti-Israel. People are turning against the Jewish people. I know, but I'm not this Persian Holocaust, and it's very sad that we see this the rebirth of anti-Semitism from the Carsons to the Cancellans. We see this explosion of anti-Semitism that's greatly fulfilling prophecy. But prophecy says that in the final battle, the battle of Gog and Magog, the war will come against, I said in Zechariah 14, and I said in Ezekiel 38 to 39, the entire war will come against Israel. And we'll see more and more people are turning against Israel, a lot of anti-Semitism that has become the norm. People that already were, even a few years ago, was pro-Israel is now becoming anti-Israel, anti-Jewish, and this is a very much a sign that once again the Tanakh is correct. That I said in Zechariah 14 and Ezekiel 38 and 39, the war will come against Israel and will be defeated. And we will see the rebuilding of the temple, as stated in chapter 40 to 48 of Ezekiel, and final fulfillment. So, in fact, as Rabbi Torah Singer stated, we're now in the Messianic age. We're now. Let me clarify that. We're at the beginning stages. We're seeing the battle of Gog Magog begin to take shape, and the final battle of Gog Magog, where Israel prevails, and in 40 to 48, the temple is rebuilt. So we are almost there. This is the final event, and we're living it right now. So hold on to your seat. It's going to be a little bumpy, but the Jewish people will prevail, Israel will prevail, And we are actually seeing the beginning of the fulfillment of chapters 38 and 39 of Ezekiel and chapters 14 of Zechariah, in which the nation attacked Israel, the nation got defeated and destroyed, and the temple was built, and then after that, every year people will be forced to come and partake in the Feast of Tabernacle. Okay, thank you so much for joining me, and hang tight. It's gonna get a little bit bumpy, but things are much further ahead than you can imagine. It's right there. All the answers. Ezekiel chapter 38, 39, and Zechariah 14 is about to be fulfilled. We're in the beginning stages of that right now, and we're about to see the final redemption coming up soon, very soon. We're right there. It's all the answers. Thank you so much, and may you be blessed.